If you are someone who just saved up $10,000, do not blow it on down payment of a home or crypto. You are not buying freedom. You have to buy time. In today's video, I'll be talking about how I would invest my first $10,000 in Canada to set myself up for success. So let's get started. Why does this $10,000 plan matter? We come to Canada with predefined notions. We'll go to Canada, we'll get a job, we'll buy a fancy car, we'll then buy a house, travel a little, buy a few investment properties, and be financially free in our 50s. When we get here is when reality hits. Jobs are limited, the fancy car comes at a 7% interest rate, and don't even get me started on the insurance that comes with it. Homes are expensive and you sometimes need up to 2 or 3 jobs in order to buy a home. And sometimes even that's not enough. Investment properties, they are no short of a scam in Canada. With hundreds and thousands of dollars that government is pushing onto the builders and builders are pushing onto you. And then comes the landlord-tenant board. That is a nightmare, especially if you're buying in Ontario. Canadian dream that we thought existed isn't looking as dreamy anymore. And forget about financial freedom, it's even difficult to make ends meet. That's the real talk. But here's the problem. As new immigrants, we do not pause. We are in a hurry to buy that fancy car and that home. And makes sense. I came to Canada at 32, I left my high-paying job in Hong Kong and I was in a hurry to settle down. But we really need to pause. So in today's video, I'll be talking about a few things. The first one will be stage 0, which is investing your first $10,000, how I would do it if I was starting afresh. I'm not talking about income here. This is the first $10,000 that you have saved in your bank account and how to invest that. Then I'll be talking about beyond $10,000, you started making some money, you are saving beyond that $10,000. How do you set yourself a strong foundation? Stage 2 will be buying a home. Then stage 3 will be investing to retire. And then I'll be talking about an alternate stage to the stage 2 of buying a home, where you are not the person who wants to buy a home and you want to rent forever. I'll be talking about that as well, and I'll be giving you strategies around everything. Let's first talk about the first $10,000 and how I would invest. I call it the 50-30-20 rule. It's not a budgeting rule. In fact, I don't agree with that 50-30-20 budgeting rule. I've made a video on that. But let's come here. How would you invest the first $10,000? How would I invest the first $10,000? You can be very different, but this is my strategy. If I had $10,000 to invest, the first thing that I'll do is I'll put 50% towards my emergency fund. That's $5,000, and I'll use a high interest savings account. I used EQ Bank. You can use Wealthsimple Cash. Irrespective of what you use, you're not trying to grow this money. All you're trying to do, the objective of this is that if you have an emergency, if you have to go to India, if you have to send money to India, if you have to do whatever, right? There is some emergency that happens that requires an upfront capital, $1,000, $2,000, your car broke down, whatever. You don't go in debt and you don't start below zero. You only get to zero. So it's important that the first thing that you do is, instead of investing the entire $10,000 or putting it toward the down payment or whatever, buying a pre-construction home because it's available at 2%, 1%, or a monthly payment scheme, whatever, bullshit that builders are selling right now, you first put that towards your emergency fund. The goal is to cover 3 to 6 months of living expenses, and obviously $5,000 doesn't come close to it, but the eventual goal is to come to about 3 to 6 months of emergency fund, and we'll talk about that in the later stages. The other 30%, the $3,000, I'll put into TFSA, and I'm not trying to say that this TFSA $3,000 a year, right? Let's say you put $250 a month, $3,000 a year into TFSA, this will not retire you. Nowhere close to it, right? You'll have to do a lot more than that, but it builds a habit. You invest $250 per month. Let's say you put $3,000 in a TFSA account. You can open in Wealthsimple. I made an entire video on that, and you put it into one fund. S&P 500 VFV, it's an ETF, and you use Wealthsimple. It's a very simple platform. You can buy fractional shares. You can schedule your buy. You can do weekly, monthly, whatever, right? But make it as simple as possible. $250 per month into S&P 500 VFV, and I'll put that through Wealthsimple. The link is in the bio, by the way. You can get a $50 or $25 starting bonus if you use that link. And then you learn about investing. You join the Blossom community. Again, the link is in the bio. Blossom is basically, there are over 300,000 investors who all talk about, it's like Facebook for investors, and they talk about different things. They talk about, different things that their journeys of investing, and you learn a lot from there. You can also watch YouTube videos. All these things are available for free. You can watch Canadian in a T-shirt. You can watch a lot of my videos. You can watch Brandon Beavis. There's so many people who are making such amazing videos. You can just watch and just, do what you feel is right for you, but just watch as many videos as possible. The best time I do it is when I'm going to work. That's where I watch a lot of the videos. The goal is to build a habit of investing and eventually get to investing 20% of your income towards retirement. Now, obviously, this is not. We are not here yet. We just have the $10,000. We only have $3,000 towards TFSA. But eventually, we are trying to build a habit so that we can increase this investment to build it to 20% of our income and beyond. And we'll talk about that in later stages as well. And the final one, 20%, is not again putting towards your home. It's putting in yourself. I would personally, if I were to start all over again, I would put that 20%, and I still do that. I put 10% of all my income towards my learning, and my income is a lot now, having run a business. Last year, I spent $50,000 on different courses and different masterminds that I joined. I would invest in courses, certifications, or upskill to start a side hustle. It's not necessary that you have to start a side hustle or a business. You can upskill in your own career. I talked about that in my last video, the last Sunday video that I made, and you can take those certifications and make sure that the next jump that you get or the next change that you get, you use that certification to get that 10, 20, 30% hike in your income. And that would help you to invest and get to a stage where you can do more things in Canada. For example, if you're an app developer, how to use AI to increase productivity and hence pick a contract on the side. I'll give you an example. One of my clients is an app developer, and he did an AI course on how to code using AI. And now he's helping other clients who don't know anything about it. They're marketeers. They don't know anything about building a code, and they know that he's using AI, but you need a really good prompter to be using AI. You need a lot of knowledge to use AI to your advantage as well. And he's able to make $3,000 to $5,000 a month, sometimes even more. And that is actually contributing towards his down payment, and he'll be in a position to buy a home very quickly. That's what I mean when I say that you need to invest $2,000. The objective here is to grow that $2,000 into $20,000 in these incomes that you get, or a salary hike of $20,000, $30,000 in the next 12 to 24 months. That's the reason why you invest that 20% into self-learning. These $10,000 will not buy you your freedom. It will buy you more income. That's the objective of doing all these three things: 50, 30, 20. Now let's talk about stage one. When you have started making a little more money, you are beyond that $10,000, and what do you do then? And again, you still don't buy a house, because this is the foundation stage. If you buy a house now, you will regret it. But before I get into that, I need a small favor. Over 60% of you watch a video but do not subscribe to the channel. I am on a mission to retire 1 million immigrants with $5 million of income generating assets. And the only way to do that is to reach more people like you and me. So it will mean a lot to me if you like the video, subscribe to this channel, and share it with a friend who you think would benefit from it. Coming back to stage one, the foundation stage where you started making more money, I would just increase the $5,000 emergency fund that you have to a 3-month emergency fund. Let's say your monthly expenses are $5,000 a month. I would build my emergency fund. Everything that you earn, everything that you save goes towards a high interest savings account, not into investing, not into anything, a high interest savings account, and I build to a 3-month emergency fund. The next thing that I'll keep doing is investing the $250 per month in TFSA, the S&P 500. A lot of people think that, you should not invest any money. And I used to say that as well. I used to think that as well. But $250 a month, the reason why you'll keep doing that in S&P 500, let's say, even if you want to buy a home, is because you're trying to build a habit, and that's very important. And I think $250 is a fair amount for everyone if you're making like half decent money, right? So keep investing the $250 per month into TFSA every month. In the S&P 500 VFE, don't complicate this. Open an FHSA account. FHSA, for those of you who don't know, it's called First Home Savings Account. I've made many videos. There are so many videos on the internet. Just search FHSA and you'll know what FHSA means. But you don't have to put any money into it. The reason why I'm saying that is because you just have to open your FHSA, and you can contribute. When you have more money, you can contribute the previous year's money in the next year. So you will be able to carry forward the contribution. You're not ready, I think, in the foundation stage. We are not ready to put money into different accounts other than the TFSA. I don't think we should invest because we are still building our emergency fund, but you should at least open your FHSA account so that you can use the contribution room for the previous year in the next year, and you are in a better position to invest. The fourth one is I'll keep investing the 20% of income back into self. I'll keep investing that into myself, my certifications, everything, till the time I'm able to make my household income to $150,000 per year. And this is household gross income before taxes, but I need to get to at least that level. And it's not just about buying a home. you need this income to buy a home. That's the truth. However, especially if you're in Ontario. However, it's also about doubling down on retirement if you are someone who wants to rent forever. And for that, you'll need this income in order to, do anything substantial in Canada. That's the reason why we struggle. We actually skip these steps. We actually skip the part of investing on ourselves, taking those certifications, improving our income, and we straight away book a call with a mortgage agent, with a realtor, and they fudge your documents because you don't make enough, and you just get into a situation where 60-70% of your income is going into house related expenses, and then there's an emergency that happens in India, and then you have to go to India, and then you are in debt, and then you're struggling. It's a constant struggle, and then you don't have the 20% to invest in yourself because you don't have any savings, and therefore you can't improve your income. I have seen this many times. If this was relatable, I know this. I've seen this so many times, and it's a mistake. The fifth one is, let's say you're making less than $150,000. You're investing 20% of your income. You're very frugal. You're very lean in your expenses. You're not at the $150,000 mark. I would, if you have still money left, I'll just put it into FHSA, First Home Savings Account. And even if you don't want to buy a house, it's still a smart idea to put that. I'll talk about that when I talk about renting forever part. But yeah, if you still have money left, just put that $8,000 per year. You have a FHSA limit of $8,000 per year. Just put that money into FHSA. Do not invest that money again because you might need that in the next 4-5 months, 6 months, 1 year, whenever you buy a home. So do not invest that money yet. However, you will get the tax benefit. You will get a tax return because it will be deducted from your taxable income, and you should take that benefit. And if you are a couple, you should both take that benefit. So you have $16,000 to invest, $8,000 per person per year. Now comes stage number 2, which is buying a home, and it's not mandatory. I'll talk about a stage where you can triple down on investing, and you can still retire very well. But we'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. But the next stage after you have passed the stage 0 and the stage 1 is you keep investing the $250 per month in TFSA, S&P 500. You keep doing that till eternity. You only increase that. You never reduce this. I would not do that. I keep saying you, but I'm talking to me, right? So I'll not do that if I was in this situation. I'll get a term insurance policy, term life insurance. I'm not a life insurance agent. I have nothing to, sell you. But everyone should get a term life insurance policy because yes, we are building a lifestyle here. Yes, we want to build a home. We will have kids or you'll not have kids, but we want to build ourselves in a way that we also protect ourselves. And it's very important that you take a life insurance because if, God forgiven, we pass away while we are building our empire, we will leave a lot of debt and a big hole in our spouse's life, in our kids' life, because there'll be less income coming in and the, making ends meet will be difficult. So I would recommend everyone to get a minimum 1 million policy per person in your household, you and your wife, if the two of you are there, and for 30 years, at least for 25 years. My policy is $2 million because I have investment properties as well. I want to cover all my debt and then some, leave some money, pay off my primary home so that, there's no mortgage if I pass away. So it's important that you do that at this stage before you buy a house, right? It's coming before you buy a house. Now you need to know your numbers and you need to plan for down payment, and I've actually made a down payment planner. Let me just go through that. So you can download this down payment planner from the description below, but basically how it works is, let's say you're making $10,000 and I've taken real numbers here. Let's say you're making $150,000 of household income. You actually land around $9,500 to $10,000 of income. Let's say you're making $10,000 for easy numbers. This is net income, right? This is after taxes, after deduction. Let's say the income is not increasing in the next, you don't have the visibility, it's recession, you're just thankful of making what you're making, and you have a down payment saved which is $70,000, or you want to save a down payment of $70,000, let's put it like that, and you do not have a $25,000 or a 3 to 6 month of emergency fund. You just say no here, and the annual property tax for the home that you're buying, I've taken an average annual property tax of $4,000. You can change this number. Everything in yellow you can change. The condo fee, let's say 0. You're buying a freehold home. In this market, it's not that difficult. The max mortgage payment that you can afford is $3,167. The reason why it's called max mortgage payment that you can afford, obviously you can afford more. If you go to a bank, they'll be able to qualify you for $750,000 or $760,000 home with a less than 10% $70,000 down payment. However, the way I achieve this number is that I don't want you to spend more than 35% of your net income. So when I say 35%, which is $10,000, that's your net income. 35% of that is $3,500, and I don't want you to spend more than that on mortgage plus on annual property taxes. This is based on 30-year amortization, not 25-year amortization. This is assuming a less than 20% down, so there are a few things here. And then the next step that we need to take is, here's where we are planning for our income and our expenses and how much down payment we can save and how fast you can save that. So let's say your rent is $2,600. I don't know your rent, so I'm just putting, you can just change that. Again, everything in yellow you can change. You need to input these cells. Car EMI plus insurance plus fuel, everything is $1,200. Groceries $600. Public transport, sending money home. You maybe have childcare expenses, daycare expenses. You can just talk about miscellaneous needs. These are all the needs that you have. This is the money that you'll have to spend every month. And then you have some luxuries, which are wants. You shop $300, Amazon, whatever, right? So $400 per month you are eating out. There's no miscellaneous wants. This person is very, very meager. They're running a lean ship, and you are able to save $4,450. Let's say that's the example. This is obviously a couple. You can, if you are single, you can just put single numbers. Most of the times you'll not hit that if you're not making a lot of money, but that's okay. You should not be thinking of buying a home anyways if you're not making $150,000 plus of household income. That was the premise that I started with. Approx purchase value is $713,000. We saw that in our previous slide. If you filled this mortgage affordability, the minimum down payment requirement is $46,000, but I would recommend to do a 10% down payment. And then closing costs are $10,700. I've just taken like a 1.5%. As a first time home buyer, you spend anywhere between 1.3 to 1.8%. So I've taken a 1.5% right in the middle. If you are buying in Alberta, your first home, it's close to $2,000 because there's no land transfer tax there. And then your savings, let's say you have $5,000, RRSP, you have $10,000. I've just taken random numbers here. Let's say you have invested, maxed out your TFSA, FHSA, sorry, $16,000. I've not taken TFSA here at all because I don't want you to divest your TFSA. I don't want, TFSA should be the last thing that you should ever think of, divesting. Not to buy a home, not to do anything. If you are just, you have to need that money, you really need that money, only then you take out money from TFSA. But FHSA is used for this, so $16,000 you take out from it. FHSA, so your current savings are $31,000. And in order to save for minimum down payment, you need another $26,000, which is basically $57,000 minus $31,000 that you already have. But if you want to, save for 10% down payment, this is the shortfall. And you will take about 6 months to save for minimum down payment, and you will take about 11 months to save for the 10% down payment. So this is I think a really good plan to start with. I would encourage you to go through this Excel, put in your numbers and see for yourself. And if you still need help, you can book a call. The link is in this Excel as well. And the link to this Excel is in the description. Coming back to the presentation, now that you know your numbers and you have planned for your down payment, you need to max out your FHSA, which is $8,000 per person per year. Do not invest that money. Just take the tax advantage. You'll get a tax rebate, which you can always put towards your down payment as well. But you max out your FHSA $8,000 per person per year. You'll get roughly around $4,000, if not more, in tax refund. And that $4,000 will be very, it'll pay off almost 40% of your closing cost, which is amazing, right? So I think FHSA should be maxed out if you're buying a home. If more money left, put it into RRSP, because RRSP is another amazing tool. You can take out money from RRSP tax-free. Do not invest that money again, but you can, for your first home, take out up to $65,000 per person of RRSP money, and you have to pay it off in 15 years, and you have to start paying it back into your RRSP after 5 years, and you don't pay any interest on that. It's your money that you took, interest free, and you have to return it in 15 years. So that's where it's a really good tool. Plus, when you invest that money to RRSP, you get a tax rebate again, and that can again be used towards your home buying, home purchase. The sixth one is, if you still have more money left, put it into high interest savings account. Don't try to grow it. Just grow it at 2.5%, whatever EQ is giving right now. And then the goal is to build towards a 10% down payment plus closing cost. If you just count your FHSA, your RRSP, and your high interest savings account, and if you have money in your checking account, all that after your emergency fund of at least 3 months after that, right? And the emergency fund also needs to be built very differently, because once you buy a home, your emergency fund has to be 3 months of expenses, including your mortgage, not your rent, right? So your expenses will be different when you take a mortgage. So make sure that you are adjusting for that, and my team will help you if you get a mortgage from us. But do not touch your TFSA in this. Your FHSA, RRSP, and the high interest savings account, HISA is high interest savings account. All these 3 things should make up for your down payment plus closing costs. And that's the most effective way of buying. If it takes 1 year, great. If you're ready to buy, great. If it takes 10 years to buy, sure. But do not buy before you pass all these stages. Stage number 3 is invest to retire, build an early retirement plan. This is something that I help my clients do, but here are the steps to do this. First, ensure a 3 to 6 months of emergency fund. The reason why I'm mentioning this point here is because when you buy a home, there are certain expenses that go, and sometimes this happened with us as well. There was a slightly bigger expense, and my 3-month emergency fund actually went down to 2-month emergency fund, and I had to fund it back, right? So just make sure that you have 3 to 6 months of emergency fund. I right now keep 12 months of emergency fund because I own a business and there are more risks and more expenses in my business. And once you have that emergency fund, you do not save. I don't know why people keep saving after they have a 6-month emergency fund. You don't have to save after that. You can always invest that into the stock market, and that money is also yours, right? It's very liquid. Money in your TFSA, money in your, in your non-registered accounts, they are all very much liquid. So you can get that money if you want to. Now, that's not something that I recommend, but if you really want to take that money, you can always take that. So you don't need like unlimited, money in your checking account, $100,000-$200,000. All you need is 6 months of emergency fund. Plus, if you are employed in Canada, you also get EI. So that's up to $2,000 a month. So it's not like you're going down to zero in income if you lose your job. You start maxing out to TFSA, and this is something that we need to all do, right? So we need to start maxing out our TFSAs. That's the biggest wealth building tool, because you do not pay any tax. When you retire, all that compounding, all that growth, you do not pay any tax on that, and that's a really tax efficient way to retire. So, and we need to learn and diversify beyond S&P 500, because now we are investing more than $250 per month. The limit for 2025 was $7,000 per month. For instance, for us in Simran's account, there was about $18,000 of room available, which was accumulated in the past years, and I maxed it out this year. So you need to learn and diversify beyond the S&P 500, and I have made an entire video on how I invest my money, which is 40% goes into S&P 500 and the rest goes into different funds. We need to start maxing out our RRSPs as well, because you get a tax refund, like I said, and you need to learn and diversify again beyond S&P 500. You make one additional mortgage. You have a home now and you have an obligation, and this is something that I always tell clients. Obviously, you are much better off putting this additional mortgage payment of $4,000, $5,000 per year into an TFSA or an RRSP, and it will probably grow. No doubt that it will grow, more. But I think we need to make one additional mortgage payment, at least one additional mortgage payment every single year towards our primary home, so that we save on interest, and we save almost 4 to 5 years of interest, and we be mortgage free a little bit early. Because if we are in a situation that we can retire early because we did make a lot of investments and we did make smart decisions, we should not be in a position where we don't retire because our home is not mortgage free. So make sure that you are setting yourself up for success, where you put at least one additional mortgage payment every single year into a primary home, so that you are mortgage free 5 years early. The goal is to invest a minimum of 20% of your income into the stock market. And that's where I plan my clients. So if you're making $10,000 net income, you need to invest at least $2,000 per month into the stock market. I'll give you an example as well here. 20% of the income goes back into to improve income each year. We are back to that. We missed that in stage 2, where we were planning to buy a house and we stopped investing in ourselves, but we need to start investing in ourselves again, because the more money you invest into the stock market and the more investments you make, the faster you can actually retire. And that's how I would do it, right? So once you have settled down in a home, once you're doing the first 5 steps, if you still have money left, I would invest up to 20% again into self-learning, certifications, buying a course, learning how to do a side hustle. I have seen many people who are learning, for example, I invested in my mortgage career. I always always invest in doing business masterminds, like attending business masterminds so that I can grow my business. So you can do any of that. Or if you are a client, you can always join Grow Nation, which is free of cost for my clients. And we do a lot of these things already. Let me show you how amazing Grow Nation is and this platform. And you really don't need to invest that 20% if you don't have that 20%, or you can actually invest that 20% back into your stock investing if you have to. So it's very, efficient that way. If you go to Classroom, you can build a one-to-one retirement plan with me. I'll talk about that in a bit as well. There is a job accelerator program if you're making less than 6 figures, but most of my clients are making above 6 figures. So this is not a very useful course for my clients. I'll probably make it available to everyone. Retirement planning, it's an 8-hour course on retirement planning. It has all the way from, budgeting, investing, 5 million strategies, debt management, insurance, estate planning. Like, it is a very, very comprehensive course that we have. It's built by me, my financial planner, and my mentor. I also have monthly masterminds where we talk about different things, investing in the US, financial planning, power of coaching, FigJam, how to build a business, basics of options trading. This was an amazing training that we did. How to invest in Indian stock market. There are many, many things that we do. One of the best ones was impact on bond yields on fixed rates. We did an Q&A on RESP. We have VFE. So there are many, many things that I keep doing every single month. This is a live, session that we have. Lots of Q&A, almost 90 minutes per month. I did a goal setting workshop as well. And this is also something which is available here. And in June of 2025, which is, this month, there'll be a launch of a business accelerator program. So if you are someone who wants to start a side hustle and build that into a 7-figure business, not everyone wants to do that, and not everyone should. That's also available from this month, end of this month. And not only that, we also have a group on WhatsApp where we have different subgroups, and we talk about, we have general discussions where people talk about different things, like if you want a plumber, people need some referral codes, like there's certain things, like someone asked for, like a car repair shop, I shared that. I'm very, very active on this group. So people save thousands of dollars just by getting the right people in my network. So that's a beauty of this. Then there's a stock investing in a group as well. So many people, like hundreds of people, actually started investing after being a part of this group. There are people who are doing technical analysis. They are very, very savvy. They have been doing it for decades. Some of the people have been doing it for over 10 years, and they know how to invest in India directly, and people help other people all the time here. Then there's a group which is job referrals. This is something which is very, very underrated. People give job referrals, and then we have a LinkedIn group. And I had a recent example where one of our members were making $90,000, $92,000 per year, and they have now making $135,000 per year because they got a referral from within the group, because there are 500 members representing over 400 companies, and all that happens within Grow Nation. It's amazing. If you want to know more about Grow Nation, I would leave a link in the description, but this is like a self-improvement program that comes with taking a mortgage from our team. Now, one last thing, obviously you bought your first home, but that doesn't mean that that's your forever home. You would always want to upgrade into a bigger home, but you only upgrade in not less than 5 years. I tell my clients you need to stay in the home for at least 5 years, and you only do that using the equity in your first home. When it grows, if it doesn't grow, you don't do it, or you have additional money coming in from a side hustle or some landfall money, like some windfall money that you got from your parents. If you have additional money which was not planned, or you built equity in your home, all that money can be then rolled up 20% into the next home. And I'm hoping that you are making a lot more money so that you can stay within the rule of 35. And if you are a client again, and if you are upgrading, obviously you're working with the team and we know your situation, I can be involved in making those decisions. Finally, let's talk about what if you don't want to buy a primary home and you want to rent forever. And there's nothing wrong in that. So the first $10,000 stay as is, the plan stays as is. Stage 1 of foundation stays as is. You don't have to change anything. You still open the FHSA account. I'll talk about that in a bit. You don't do this because you don't want to buy a home, but you rent forever, and you need to triple down on investing in the stock market. You can't be not investing more into the stock market and not buying a home. If you rent, let's say you pay $3,000 of rent right now, in 30 years, that rent will be $7,000 with inflation. I'm taking a 2.53% inflation. It will be more than double the $3,000. And an equivalent person who had a mortgage and he's mortgage free right now, he or she is mortgage free right now, they would be paying anywhere between $1,500 to $2,000 of expenses in property taxes and in maintenance. Utilities will be there for both, right? So the difference on retirement will be massive if you are renting versus buying, and it's not like you can't make up for that. All you need to do is invest the difference. Invest the difference between, let's say if you had a mortgage minus your rent right now, let's say that difference is $2,000. Make sure that you're not spending that on luxuries. You can't be traveling and living the life. If you want to retire with the same amount of comfort and at the same time, you need to make sure that you are investing that difference instead of spending it on luxuries. That was the premise, right? But we need to start maxing out on TFSA, learn and diversify beyond S&P 500. Like you have time, just go out, learn, take courses. It's part of the 20% towards self-improvement. Make sure that we are investing beyond and getting a 8 to 10% return. Start maxing out your RRSPs. You are probably high income right now. You need to take advantage of RRSP and the tax benefits that come with it. We need to start maxing out our FHSAs as well. And we need to do it on broad market, XEQT, some global funds. And the reason why I'm saying this is that let's say you don't buy a house in 2-3 years, you weren't in the mindset, but let's say in 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, you do buy a house. So you should at least have that advantage of taking this money out tax-free, because you will take out this money tax-free. Or if you actually don't buy a house, you can always roll this money into RRSP. So, it's still a really good tool because you can invest up to $8,000 for 5 years, so $40,000 a lifetime per person per household, and you can take the tax advantage and the tax credits that come with it. And if you don't buy a house, you can always roll it over into RRSP, provided you have room into it. You should explore crypto as well. I invest $15 a day into crypto because it's so volatile. I don't want to invest a lot because I don't know where it will land, but I don't think it will be zero. That's just my personal opinion. But you need to invest because you need to diversify. The one problem that I have with not buying a home, your primary home, is not that, oh, you'll not be able to retire, whatever. That's bullshit, right? You will still be able to retire if you do the right things. But my problem is that you are not diversified enough. Let's say on retirement, I need $200,000 of investable assets, right? $200,000 of income coming from investable assets. If you are if you are renting, you'll probably need $300,000. And these are real numbers, by the way. You need $100,000 more. And I have a retirement calculator. You can, do your calculations from the description below. But you need about $100,000 more if you are renting. If that's the case, then you need to make sure that your stock investing portfolio, on the years that they go down, you are actually compensating for that by having more money in the stock investing account. Because let's say, you don't always get a 7 to 8, 10%, return every single year. Some years it's 20% down, some years it's 30% up, because the stock market can go up and down. And if Trump, obviously, the Trump-like person, if he's in power when we are retiring, we want to be in a position where we are well diversified. That's the only reason why, that's the main reason why I want to be mortgage free, because I want to have my expenses as low as possible so that I don't need a lot of investable assets and I can live mortgage free. My living expenses are bare minimum. If I have to take less income or maybe do some part-time work on retirement just to fill in for that 1 year when the stock market is down, I can do that. Or I can skip that because my expenses are lower. But if I am not maxing out on my stock investing and I have a rent to pay, it will be very difficult because I don't have my portfolio diversified enough and I don't have a home where my expenses are lower. So that's the only reason why I want to diversify into my stock portfolio. Most of my clients are diversified into stock portfolio, and obviously they have a home as well that will be mortgage free before they retire. The goal is to invest a minimum of 20% of your income into the stock market. It's really important that you do that. And keep investing 20% of the income back into self to improve your income each year. I think everyone can improve their income 10-20%. 10-20% sounds high, but it's not very high, right? 10% of, let's say, $150,000, $15,000 per year, that's about $1,250 per month. I'm sure if we hustle a little or if we take those certifications that are relevant in your career, we can all make that additional money. So I think we should keep investing 20% of the income back into ourself, and it's possible if you just pay yourself first and then look at luxuries. And like I started, invest the difference between your home ownership expenses. If you are buying a home, what would be those expenses minus the rent? And you can take the expense, you can do that calculation for the home that you're living in. Let's say you're living in a townhouse, $3,000 of rent, and let's say the cost of ownership was $4,000, $4,500. You would, you should invest that difference. Plus, you'll be investing the down payment as well. So make sure that you're doing all that into the stock market to double, triple down, so that you have that additional money in the stock market that makes up for the rent plus the lack of diversification. All the links that I use in this video are in the description below. Whatever you decide to do, the first $10,000 needs to be invested in the same way: 50, 30, 20, 50% towards your emergency fund, 30% towards TFSA to build that habit, and the other 20% into yourself so that we can improve our income. We should never hurry to buy a home because that's the fastest way to broke. So please do not do that. I make a living selling mortgages, but I do not want to sell a mortgage to someone who is not ready. That's all for today. मिलते हैं अगली वीडियो में, तब तक के लिए बाय बाय.